Well, very good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Friday Night Lights, where we're going to be channeling our inner Prue Lee over the next couple of moments and hopefully giving you the winners before they're announced a little later on. Joining me as always, well as regularly, is Brendan Duke, and also Johnny Ward's going to sit in for this edition of Friday Night Lights. So before we start, gentlemen, little one for you. What's here, as we're getting the band back together, we're going to have a bit of a greatest hits tour here. So what was your greatest hit of a Friday night, your best bet at Dundalk for Friday night? You go first there, Johnny.
I think it was Shabra Emperor when it won it was actually the Friday of Cheltenham, and it was 0 from 31, I think, and it was it was about 33 to 1, but I told the taxi man from the train station to back it, and I had a few bob on, and I had a good Cheltenham. It was one of those days, one of those Fridays at Cheltenham where everything went right. Possibly the day Alderwood won the Grand Annual, but a lot of winners, and he came up as well, and he's actually become quite a good horse since he's won a few races, so that was my best price winner there anyway. Good stuff. Brendan?
I should say, Tom, I don't have a great record in Dundalk, not to put the viewers off.
Why are you on the show then?
Well,
all about Dundalk.
But I might just be coming into my own, because I went up there for the weekend. I spent the night there last Friday, and I did manage to back that Gold Rush, which you all put up, and she's a teak tough filly.
Absolutely.
So with recency bias, Gold Rush is my best ever winner.
Well, I'd actually be in the Gold Rush boat as well, right? Before we move on to the good stuff, going to hear a little bit about Del Mar. Do you fancy anything on Friday night? You mentioned perhaps September in that fillies and mares turf.
Perhaps September, yeah. She does, despite her action. I've got her completely wrong in terms of ground. She's a much better filly on better ground. Unlucky in the fillies mile, and I think she'll take a lot of beat.
Good stuff. Right, on to the Friday night action. Then we start off with a tricky little maiden. Anything stand out for you in that?
Well, it's very interesting because the horses who have run basically don't seem any use. There's a horse of Prendergast, Paddy Prendergast, ran it right in his debut, but done nothing since. So I think it'll come down to the newcomers. Ger had It's All a Joke entered, who I thought would probably be good enough. He relies on debutant It's 2 o'clock. So I imagine that would probably be favourite. But I saw down the bottom there was a filly called Rachel Rush. And if I could drag you back to another Friday night in Dundalk, Tom, when Beat the Bank made his debut earlier this year for the Darren Bunyan stable, not unbacked, Pat Smullen booked. I know Pat Smullen is also booked for this Rachel Rush. I wouldn't be surprised there's a few quid for this, and in a very winnable maiden, if there was, I think I'd be following in.
Good stuff, Johnny. You fancy anything in the maiden?
Rachel Rush is definitely interesting. Smullen is 1 from 5, I think, for Darren Bunyan, but you'd have a bit of a worry here about Ger Lyons, how much he's putting into the next few days, because Colin is more or less over the line, so I don't think it's as important now. It's 2 o'clock. The price of this horse by Ravens Pass has actually gone down since it was a foal, and it's also gelded already, so it's probably not much good, but this won't take any winning whatsoever, and it's 2 o'clock. It's the most tentative of tentative selections at 5:30.
Right, on to the first of the handicaps. Brendan, anything jump off the page in this one?
Not particularly, but I thought Pillar, who's a very hard horse to win with, although he's in good company here, but the combination of a plot draw in 1 and the hot hand of Colin Keane might be enough to get him over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, you fancy anything there?
I like your pal Tal here. When I printed this out, Donogh O'Connor was actually down to ride 2 horses, and now he'd do well to do that, but if he does ride your pal Tal, this horse is rated 57. Now, he's usually been backed when he's won. He's won off, I think, mid-70s. He's a very good record at Dundalk when, in terms of winning. 6 furlongs is perfect for him. Peace Mission, the Smullen mount would definitely be interested well, but basically your pal Tal, he's drawn to 5 furlongs will be fine. He's a lot going for him here, albeit he's well exposed.
Absolutely. By the way, we'll have Gavin Lynch's thoughts as well at the end of the show, so bear with us just in case you think these guys aren't up to it. Anyway, joking obviously. Shawnee is, by the way, Gavin's selection in the claimer. Would you put anyone off that, or do you fancy something else?
I would agree with that. I had Shawnee in my comprehensive notes here. He's not an obvious horse to go back to back, but everything seems set fair. He's got a good draw, should be able to sit second or third, and I thought a repeat of his last run probably be good enough.
Your notes, it looks like a kind of a worn school diary.
They are comprehensive notes,
full of lost loves and.
Oh yeah. It's shorthand. It could be anything here. Yeah. You can't read it though.
I didn't take down as many notes. I'm going with Reckless Lad here. This is a really trappy race, and Shawnee, I think, might be better over 7, but Declan McDonough got on very well with him last time. you know, it's been a very disappointing year for David Marnan. He's had a poor strike rate, and Shawnee has done his bit with a couple of seconds and a win. Reckless Lads has an excellent record around Dundalk. He's very consistent. In fact, he's had 29 all-weather runs, and 16 times he's been in the first 3. So if he can get some sort of a sit, he's one of these horses that'll travel extremely well, mightn't find a lot. It's not that he's ungenuine, he just doesn't find a lot, but Killian Leonard taking off the 5. If he can get a toe into the race, I think he's a reasonable chance. Trappy race.
Yeah, no doubt. As you could copy and paste that for most of the race of the card, to be fair. A couple of divisions of the 45 to 65 handicap. Anything stand out for you there, guys?
This is a very interesting one here because I'm going to put up a horse who's rated 45 and has never won a race. I've never done that before. DK Travels.
Okie doke, I'm looking at the bottom.
He's not exposed. He's a 3-year-old. He's well drawn on a couple of, not his last run, but the previous 2 runs. If you repeated those, I thought he was likely to go close.
Good stuff. Johnny, anything jump out in either division of the handicap?
Have we skipped the 7 o'clock? Are we going back to that?
We'll go back to that.
Okay, because I actually kind of fancy one in that. I was afraid, you know the way you fancy one, then you go into these horrible races in which nothing's going to win the 7:30, actually, I decided. But if something does, Dynamite, right? Now, this horse is from a stable in Kilkenny. Hasn't had a winner in a few years, quite a few years. Chris Hayes rode this horse last time. Light up very well over the mile and weakened quite tamely, but that was its handicap debut. Doesn't have a bad pedigree. I think it's the first foal out of a decent enough winner. And if the horse can be held on to a bit longer over the 7, it'll travel very well. I actually give that a fair chance in the 7:30. And seeing as though we are going back to the 7 o'clock, I'll give something for the 8 o'clock as well. Yeah, Night Flight, I think, also has a bit of progress in him. And not a bad trainer. The boy Murray does well with what he has. And this is classic Dundalk. Get the worst race there and divide it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anyway.
Right, the other handicap on the card as well, the 6 furlong handicap penultimate race. Anything stand out in that?
Yeah, this is a good heat, isn't it?
Yeah, this is competitive.
Yeah, I thought very pleasing comeback for Grey Danube.
Yeah.
Now, there's arguably a bit too much pace in this race because he's a horse who likes to get on with things. There's plenty of competition for the lead, but I don't think he has to lead. And I expect him to come on for his comeback, and that'll probably be enough here.
Okie doke. Johnny, you fancy anything in that?
Dukey's nailed on about the pace. Like Grey Danube, Geological, Have a Nice Day. They're just 3 of the potential pace setters. So you're looking for a closer. I looked hard, and the best I could come up with was Alfredo Arcano for that aforementioned David Marnan.
Yeah. So he's going to go from 0 to having a double or a treble on the card.
Hopefully so. Ushinor, you know, a lot been written and said about him. Good rider. The key with this horse, he's drawn 1. He loves to travel off a good pace, and even though his form falls a bit short, I think he's unexposed in terms of proper fast run handicaps, certainly on the all-weather where he's a good record, and he's only a 3-year-old. Yeah,
he looked like he's coming back into form last time out as well. Right, we'll go to your 7 o'clock and then we'll go to the last race. Come on, big selection here, Johnny.
I'm not sure about your chronological, you know, mismatch going on here, but let's go for Harmony of the Stars. Dukey, you're nodding in agreement.
Oh, fantastic.
In your shorthand.
Absolutely. So is that all we got to?
Harmony of the Stars, well-bred horse, very nice debut behind massive central back defeat, couldn't be countenanced, shaped well and just stayed on nicely from off the speed. It looked like it would need the experience. I'm a fan of Johnny Murtagh's horses after they've had a run, and probably my nap of the night. This is not a great maiden. KG has first start for Sarah Lynham, who actually had a big price runner, finished 3rd on Wednesday night, and then you have Spring Garden, who's fairly exposed, and Light Laughter, moderate enough run last time. So this is a nice race to have a bet in because Harmony Stars could be an each way price, and there aren't that many you could put up against it.
Absolutely. Right, we'll go on to the lucky last then. There's a really bred one here that I quite like in this, actually, Munitsa. Of Dermot Weld, and if there was a sort of family gathering, this one, it would be the absolute run to the family, but still off around mark around 82.
Us two or the horse?
No, the horse. I think it's related to Murad and Murian and Murillian. Anyone else going to
proper Aga Khan pedigree?
Yeah,
proper
absolutely.
Yeah.
I like Elishpur here, Dukey. I don't know what you think, but Elishpur last run on the all-weather, which I think was its only run on the all-weather, certainly in Ireland, was 2nd to Rashan. And that was a race, I don't know if you remember, Peak Sue did a little lap of the track beforehand and was scratched. Now, I thought the race was pretty poor, actually, at the time, but the more I looked at it, it wasn't a bad run at all. There were a couple of hardy all-weather horses just behind Elishpur, who's actually gone down the ways, despite the fact he ran above his mark on that occasion. Alan Fleming's horse are going well. The boy, Billy Lee, what more does one want? And I think dropping back to 1.5 miles will suit as well. Very interesting runner.
Jicky, anything last?
But both of your horses, you make good cases for them, but just to muddy the waters further, I think I will put up the unexposed 5-year-old, the lesser spotted unexposed 5-year-old, Saga Bolton, who's a cracking win rate, this horse. I think he's 3 from 8 or what have you. Arguably wants a bit further than 1.5 miles, but had a nice comeback over course and distance the last day, finished 4th. I think any improvement on that, he'll go close.
Okay, well, more good news because our judge, Gavin Lynch, has sent us selections, and one of them is indeed Saga Bolton. So 3 selections from Dundalk, guys. I'll give you Gavin's first. There's Shawnee, Your Pal Tal, and Saga Bolton. Johnny?
Am I supposed to say
Best bet,
my
follow
best. Gavin is a great judge as well, and he's obviously working without price at the moment. But what a judge he is! I certainly, and I'm happy that he's gone with Your Pal Tal. Your Pal Tal, I'll give 3 as my best 3 of the night. Your Pal Tal will be one of them. Certainly Elish Poor, and I'm going to give my nap. And I'm very afraid that you had forgotten about it, but you hadn't, to be fair. As Harmony of the Stars.
Your best bet, Brendan?
I'm going to nap one in the 2nd division of that 45 to 65. Back the best horse in the race, Burnview Lady. Now, she's 7, and it's a couple of years since she won off a mark this high. But I think this just could be a situation where class will out. She'll jump out in front, and the other horses don't know how to win. And if they see her go off in front, they just won't know what to do, and I'd be surprised if she pegged back.
Just the one thing about Burnview Lady, she's ridden by Alan Glenn, who's from Headford and Galway, which would be a real racing backwater.
You're never going to miss a Galway connection with racing.
No,
I'll just flag you up on that.
Glenn would be a Galway name, but this horse, for it to win actually the other night, considering it was really taken on for the lead, it wasn't a soft lead at all, and held on. So interesting selection from the Dukester.
All right, my best bet's Munitsa, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and join us again next week for more Friday Night Lights.